Welcome to the Shootin' the Q podcast presented by Heath Riles Barbecue with tips, tricks, and an inside look at some of the top pitmasters in the game. Now here's your host, Heath Riles.
Welcome back to Season 5 of Shootin' the Q with, of course, myself and my lovely wife, Candace. And today we're kicking off our very first episode of Season 5 with our good friend, Ryan from Smokin Brothers. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be down here.
Well, you know, in a couple of weeks, we're going to see each other again.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be rolling smoke indoors.
That's right. Well, everybody that does not know you, Ryan, why don't you tell everybody kind of who you are and what you do in this crazy barbecue world?
Well, what I do is kind of, if you ask my wife, I don't do very much. I'm just never home.
All of them say that.
Yeah. Well, our family produces a wood pellet grill called Smokin Brothers, and that's what we've been doing since 2011. Since then, we started an indoor barbecue contest right at the start of 2020, which has just lit on fire, basically. And so we've got about 42 states that we're currently in with dealers and out there in the wild anyway, pushing our products. But at the same time, what we love more than anything is bringing our barbecue and our style of cooking to the public.
Well, that sounds cool. Well, tell us a little bit more about the Cape Girardeau event that you throw.
So the Cape Girardeau event goes back to whenever we used to compete back in the day, and that was a long time ago. And what we always thought about was having a barbecue contest that was just even across the board. No one pulling in with giant rigs, no one bringing in $1,000 worth of meat to cook for going up against a guy with $100 brisket. So we're leveling the playing field, I guess you could say, on the barbecue side of things. And so we have 10 people coming in to barbecue, and they're going to be doing People's Choice. Those People's Choice, they're going to be doing pork loin and pork steaks for that area. For the people that aren't familiar with pork steaks, look it up. It's a fine, tasty piece of meat. It just takes a little longer to cook than most. But then the other thing we're doing that's a little bit different with it not just being indoors is we're having 40 SEA cooks coming and doing a cook contest. And they're running the event all like they normally do for an SEA. We're going to have Marty Plute and the MW boys doing an SEA experience where they're going to be throwing down some tomahawks and some ribeyes for the public to sample while the competitors are basically competing with themselves. And the last thing that I like the most is getting our first responders involved and our veterans. And that's where you come in. We pair up the veterans in our local area and first responders with barbecue, I would say celebrities per se, but also just well-known cooks. And they get to show their wares and help these first responders learn how to barbecue. So,
well, for the last few years that we've been involved with it, it's been great to us because my dad was a first responder and all that, and I was volunteered when I was younger and things like that. And so it's kind of cool to be able to give back, but also to see how much the public engagement is indoors like that. And it's kind of cool that you are indoors in the cold, cooking in the warmth, you know, on a pellet grill, and that y'all provide all the meat and proteins like that, and especially just handing it out for, you know, samples and letting everybody try your food.
Well, and what's great about it, and especially most barbecue contests, you don't get to try everybody's food. Right. You get to walk around, you get to smell it, and then you have to go eat at some barbecue joint down the road that is not the quality of what you guys are putting out. And so now the public gets to experience what you guys put out, which I think is exciting.
That's right.
Last year, didn't the weather kind of play a little part last year? Hopefully not this year.
It did a little bit. It got really cold. I mean, it was everyone bundled up in parkas to get indoors, and then everyone was in flip-flops and shorts the rest of the day inside.
It just seemed like the surrounding areas, didn't they get some ice or snow kind of close to there?
Getting hit when we got out of town, right? It was coming in as we were leaving that morning. It was coming in.
Yeah, it was coming in. There was some expectations on our local weather guy that might have hindered us a little bit. Yeah. But as far as the crowds, we had record crowds there walking through. And but one thing I always tell people more than anything, and this is what happens throughout the whole year, everyone talks to me and goes, man, I was there. What are you guys doing different this year? And I was like, well, didn't you like last year? What do we need to do different? And the only thing that kept bringing back up was coming from the first responders themselves. They wanted to know, how can they be judged far as the public wise? They want to know on a scale level of a barbecue type experience that they're cooking and getting coached by you guys, is the level of food they're putting out stacking up to what barbecue judges would normally expect. And that's where we're going to be doing a little bit different. We're going to have 30 VIPs come through, and they're going to be testing like a little appetizer plate provided by you guys, in which I know I just brought that up to you, Heath, so I see you getting a little nervous, but not much.
It don't bother me.
But that's the way the first responders kind of get a feel back, see what all they've learned, and make sure that, hey, we did do something right. It wasn't just putting out mass amount of foods, which you're going to do that.
How many people really come through? Do you know?
Last year, we had about 2,000 people come through the doors. That's not counting the competitors that were under the one roof. We changed it up a little bit this year on time structure wise. We're starting at 10 o'clock and we're ending the event at 3 o'clock with the awards coming in at 4 o'clock. And so that way it gets everyone home a little bit earlier and let everyone kind of relax. We realized last year it's a long day, as you know, and it gives people a little bit of time to relax that evening and maybe go watch a football game somewhere.
Who's playing that day anyway?
Nobody important.
I'm sure, because most college football is about over with by then, right?
Yeah, the weekend before.
Should be.
Yeah, I know NFL's great, but yeah, it's not college ball for sure. No. For sure. Well, I mean, I love the event per se. I mean, y'all even done a whole hog before. Are y'all doing that again?
We're not doing that this year because Matt Greiner.
Tomahawks.
We're going to be tomahawks on the VIP side, but then at the same time, Matt Greiner really wants to compete. He's coming in with the Mixon family this year, and so Matt Greiner with Southern Q is going to be coming out, and he's going to be coming to win. So just give you a little heads up.
Well, I mean, he don't scare me. I mean.
Well, there's some with the coaches that we got coming. I mean, the caliber of coaches we've got coming this year. You look at it and it's just stacked, and it doesn't matter if it's Big Bob and Bobby T coming in, and Big Mo, and at the same time, the other thing that I think is a little bit different, we got someone called Tim Shear coming.
Old Blues Hog. Tim's a great guy, tallest man in barbecue. You know, there's not too many people I have to look up to. And I don't really look up to Tim. It's kind of a glance, you know what I mean? Because I'm a tall guy myself. But Tim is tall. He is tall. Yeah. I asked him to take his shoes off one time before. Standing next to me.
He normally just has on flip-flops, I feel like.
He does.
Just kick them off, I guess.
Well, and that's the other thing that's kind of interesting, I think, is because you're bringing Tim from the side of the drums. And that's what he's known for, is cooking with Gateway Drums. Well, he's going to be cooking there on Smokin Brothers that day. So we got him a little bit out of his element. So we'll see what happens. We've got also Sonny and Michelle coming up from Nashville, that area. We got some other people coming up that have been there before.
Jeremy and Josh DeWitt coming back from Kansas City area.
Yep, and they're excited about it. They told me to say hello to you this morning. And then also we got someone new coming from the Northwest, which I know she's been on your guys' podcast before. And that's Misty with the Seattle Butcher's wife, and RJ Smokehouse are going to be cooking it up.
Mm-hmm. We're familiar with RJ Smokehouse, for sure. They're one of our sponsored teams. Good group of guys. Good group. But you have some really good A-lineup people coming in with everything for coaches and everything. And do you have any new first responder teams coming in this year?
We've got one. He was part of the original one. It was and Dave is coming in, and he's with the Avenue of Flags, which if you've ever been through Cape during a holiday event or Memorial's Day weekend, our Cape County Park puts up about 450 American flags throughout it. It's quite a spectacle. But he's a Navy veteran, and I got a hold of him this year and say, hey, I really want you to have a team there. He goes, I tell you what, I'm in. I can't wait. Just make sure I get with Heath Riles.
Well, everybody says that. I mean, you know. I mean, I don't know if they're saying it because we won it the last couple times or what, but we really, when we go in, we try to do our best when it comes to things like that and just put out some good food is what we done.
Well, you guys do what I ask everyone to do is give the public an experience. And with what you guys are there with the showmanship, I mean, you're behind the grill a little bit, but you're out there talking to the people. So if they've got questions or anything like that, that's what it's about, is bringing our talents to the locals and letting them know how you do it. and why you do it.
That's right. It's always a good time. And those nurse young ladies that we were paired up with last year, they work, they roll.
Smoking thighs and saving lives. They'll be back.
They definitely work. They definitely do. Well, look, going on from that event, y'all are involved with NASCAR.
Oh,
and so why don't you tell me a little bit about how Smokin Brothers and NASCAR kind of become a partnership deal, and you going to Kansas City Speedway and doing the things that you do there? Kind of enlighten us on some of that.
Well, and that's the thing that barbecue's all about experience, and NASCAR is too. And they approached us a couple years ago about bringing on the barbecue experience with the NASCAR experience and seeing how we can tie those together. And so we've been at the Kansas City Speedway for the last couple years in bringing that barbecue experience. And so usually what ends up happening is at the end of the race on Sunday, the person that ends up in victory lane ends up with the Smokin Brothers barbecue grill or a Meyer Mixon Bark 2400 powered by Smokin Brothers. In the spring race, that's the Bark. That's what gets given away along with some beef ribs. In the fall, we actually do a barbecue, which I don't know if you guys have seen. We have a grill that looks just like a big red barn, like when we all grew up. Going past a farm, you'd see that red barn sitting off in the sunset, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so that's what we give away to the winner then as well. But what we're doing, we're on the fan experience side. So we're down in the infield, just throwing down barbecue. I bring people with me. You know Jack Woods. He came up this past fall. The MW boys, Brian and Brandon, they all came up. And then you got Marty Plute with Twisted Steel. And just a whole different array of people. We also had Josh DeWitt from JDQ up there. And what we try is the same thing that you guys are doing for us at the When Pigs Fly. Give out that experience to the people walking by. Show them what barbecue's all about. Get them excited about what we create and what rubs and grills and everything that's out there with the event.
Wow.
So
That sounds like a pretty cool
I
event.
just want to know, have you always been a NASCAR fan, though? Or are you just knowing now?
Truth be known is I knew a lot about NASCAR as far as when I watched Stoker Ace, which has nothing to do with NASCAR whatsoever. And then the last couple of years, I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it's changed a lot, too.
It
the
has.
last few years.
It has.
It's different than it used to be.
Matt Greiner, who's come the last couple of years with us to help us out, he knows a lot about NASCAR, and he's actually been a good person to fill me in on everything to do and not to do. And so it's been nice. But yeah, I will have to say the NASCAR experience has been a great one for me. And I had no clue how large it actually was.
I've actually never been to a NASCAR race.
I don't think I have either. I hadn't.
Almost, but didn't go.
Well, I mean,
I hear it's an experience just to go to a race in itself. I mean,
I hear the infield at Talladega is the best place.
well, that's where I almost went once, was Talladega, but I didn't.
Yeah, I know people's been to jail at Talladega, and
I think they got a jail on premises to get them processed, but I'm not positive.
they do. Just
Wouldn't
I
surprise
think
me.
most speedways do have a jail on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
gosh.
I don't know. I've only been, and thanks for pointing this out, Candace. I appreciate it. But I've only been to the
that one?
Kansas Speedway, and but at the same time, I mean, everything is run so well, and I mean, you're down to the minute where you're going to be at. Even at Victory Lane, even though you think it's a race, they've got it timed perfectly where we've got the ribs coming to the winner right off the grill. And so
they know when they're going to pull in there, they've got it down to a science.
They do, with exception. I mean, you got cautions and stuff that happen, but they prepare for things. So if they have so many of this happening, then they know, okay, well, here's your window. Make sure you hit it. And so you maybe have 5 or 6 racks all in that window that they tell you. So then you're giving them the freshest ones.
Well, that makes sense. I mean,
well, you guys just have to come up to Kansas with me one weekend, either in the fall or in the spring. We'll just see what that
as long
works.
as it's not summer and hot. I will tell you, climbing that embankment. Did you go up the embankment at the racetrack?
We did. That was a little, straight up.
That is. Now, you weren't there for that when I went to the American Royal when it was still to Speedway, but going over to the awards and having to climb the embankment.
Where did I was at a Speedway for the American Royal
It's still there. It was at the.
when I was pregnant.
Yeah, you were there. No, but we didn't go to awards there, I don't think, did we? It was, but we didn't sit in the stands. The year before that, we sat in the stands.
No,
You
we didn't
go.
sit in the stands.
I'm saying we had to climb the side of the track to go get in the stands, like
I
around the
didn't do that.
wall.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy.
I can't imagine that. I'd say I wasn't at the first year that they had at the American Royal, and that's probably where that's whenever they moved everything back down to the infield to keep people from.
Everything was going up, and they had the award stage kind of set up on the edge of the inside of the wall, like with the bleachers going up. So you come down the bleachers and went down front to stand on your spot or get an award or whatever, right? It was not in the infield the year that we went. And so, but I can remember climbing that embankment and remembering how steep it was, thinking to myself that cars going around this at 180 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That is pretty wild. I mean, because it was almost straight up 90 degrees. I mean,
that is one thing that was awesome. Like our first year out the Speedway, they gave us a tour of everything and then gave us a ride around the track, and the history that they would talk about in the degree and how everything is just measured to be the exact to help give the best, most exhilarating race at every racetrack was crazy to me.
Yeah. It's wild. You have to be going so fast to go into some of those embankments and all that, right?
Well, and not only that, the people that were giving us the ride, they were telling us that, and these were our contacts. These were the people that helped get us there and got us put in there. It's like every employee of NASCAR has to lock time or track time around a track. And so you have to spend time in a race car. If you're working for NASCAR, you got to spend time in a race car going around the track. And if you don't hit your hours, you don't get to do the fun stuff.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
Well, you understand everything, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, knowledge is key. It's just like when you guys bring your crew in to start cooking with you, you don't leave, you try to get them as up to speed on what to expect and how to do. And I'm guessing it's the same as.
Yeah.
So discuss this new vertical smoker.
Oh, this thing's a beast. This is probably my pride and joy. We've had it now for about 4.5 years. We just haven't put it out there yet until just recently. We're ready to release it back in the day, right before David and Myron approached me about building their pellet smokers. And the one thing that I was looking at was like I couldn't justify coming out with two heavy-end, high-end type smokers at the same time. So I went ahead and put mine in the back and just put a sheet over it and just let it sit there. But it's finally, I had to bring it out. Too many people are coming out with verticals, and I wanted to showcase what a true vertical is. And with what we've got, there's no draw inside this grill at all. And for a vertical not to have a draw is almost impossible. But the main reason why we did that is because on convection style cooking, you don't want draw. It sucks all the heat out of your grills. And if you have any type of natural draw occurring, you're going to have temperature differences from the top and the bottom. And then so your pork butts up top are going to get done faster than your pork butts down at the bottom. Well, you don't want that. You want to go ahead and just have a nice even cook all the way through it. And this vertical, I mean, I always liked building the bigger grills anyway. We had one grill called Big Red. It was 120 square foot of cooking surface. And then we downsized that one down to the Shack, which is right at 55 square foot of cooking surface. And then we've got now the vertical, which has just over 10 square foot of cooking surface. But we designed it to hang your summer sausages in. So for your hunters out there that like to do deer sausage and make their own summer style sausage, it's perfect. You put everything on the wooden dowels and hang up to a 34-inch stick inside there. And for those,
the chamber's 3 foot wide almost.
It's 3 foot in height, in vertical, and then deep wise is 32 inches deep.
And how wide is it?
And the interior width is right at 24 inches. So it's a pretty good size unit.
That is a good size unit.
And the whole reasoning for it was to get that mid-level caterer person excited about it, as well as that person that likes to entertain at their house and always runs out of space. Well, now you don't run out of space.
Wow. And how many racks is in it?
There's 5 racks. And then the other thing that I like interesting about it is when you're cooking at 225 or below, you open up that and all you got is a cloud of smoke sitting inside that grill, and which gives a lot more smoke intensity than what people are used to with a pellet grill. People don't realize there is a difference in the way pellet grills cook. And if you can control the actual draw and keep that out of the way, you get a lot more smoke flavor coming out of that vertical style grill.
It's amazing to see the advances in grills and technology in grills, that it's come from stick burners to pellet grills, right?
Oh yeah.
And you have your purists out there, and I know you're a pellet grill manufacturer, and I'm a fan of a pellet grill. I really like them myself. I mean, some people don't like them, have their doubts about them, but for me, they cook quality food and consistent. And I mean, why would you not want something like that where you can enjoy the game a little bit better? And I like throwing some sticks every now and then. Don't get me wrong.
Everyone likes throwing sticks.
Yeah, but I mean, I also love it's a different style of cooking, and you have to, it's easier, but it's also, you can manipulate that grill in so many ways to do so many different things, than just standard smoke a rack of ribs.
Well, and like what started us down the path of pellet grills is in 2010, 2008, we were modifying pellet grills to get them to cook the way we wanted to. And finally, we just decided, you know what, let's just build it right from the get-go. Then we don't have to modify anybody's. We can just modify our own. And so that's how we started, was basically our focus was going to be on the quality of cook, not if it was flashy or had this stainless steel here. No, we wanted it to cook right the first time and put out some quality food. Because when it comes down to it, that's how a barbecue grill is judged, as well as the barbecue person.
That's right.
Is the quality behind it. And the consistency, like you mentioned, you can just stack up and focus on just your rubs and your sauces that you're going to put in with the meat that you're cooking.
Well, I mean, for me, if I walk up to a grill, and you'll know the type of grills that I'm talking about, there's nothing wrong. I mean, you understand a grill cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Well, people only buy good grills about every 5 years, right? 4 to 5. Yep. The cheap grills get every year or every other year. There's gas grills or the cheap charcoal grills you see at Lowe's and Home Depot and places that, Walmart. And because people leave them out in the weather and they abuse them and they just cook on them on certain times during the year, and it's a hamburger or hot dog and that's it, right? Well, when you go to buying that better quality, for me, when you pick a lid of a grill up and it's almost like wants to warp on you when you pick it up or shift, that's a cheap grill. Mm-hmm. It don't matter who makes it.
Yep.
But when you pick one up and it's solid, the lid, when you open and close it, this is a good grill. I mean, and a lot of people probably don't, it's more in depth to it than that, but the lid of a grill will tell you more of a story of that grill than anything.
Yeah, I had a salesman that used to work with us, and he said the two things that sell your product the best is your lid and your wheels. Look at the casters on your grills.
I believe it.
Because if you can roll it around easy, you're going to be more apt to use it. But the main thing, like you said, when someone walks into a showroom and they notice all the lids, it's human nature to lift up a lid. It just is.
You look inside of it, and you feel the difference, and you go, oh, $20 more. This one feels feel this one. Mm-hmm. You don't even go to looking at what cooking capabilities it has at first. You go to, this feels so much more heavy duty.
Yep.
And for the money, I don't know.
Well, and that's where the quality comes in, because you get a quality of build with your pits. I mean, it goes all the way, and it's true for any grill line, whether it's a gas, whether it's charcoal, whether it's stick. It's true for any grill line. When you start looking at the qualities, you start noticing things where they're welded frames rather than bolt-on frames. It's either a heavy gauge, depending on what you're cooking. It might be heavier gauge steel. So like for your stick burners, you use a heavier gauge steel. For the pellet side of things, we went down the insulated version of it, and it's a lot more, you can control it a lot better, and you put double wall in there and put fiberboard inside it to help control that
and that's probably better than thicker steel. Mm-hmm. As far as the cost go and efficiency.
Well, efficiency wise, on a pellet grill you have such a small little burner, whereas on a stick burner and your other offsets, you have more heat getting built up, more BTUs coming out of that firebox if you need it.
Has anyone ever tried to make a bigger auger and system, a fire pot on a pellet grill? Or do they? I don't know. Say your big commercial type pellet grills, do they have a bigger auger system in them? Or do they have still the same auger system you use in the small ones?
Predominantly have the same system. Main reason is because to get those pellets to burn, you can't get too large down there. You got to have a controlled environment. So like for our larger one, like what we used to call the Big Red, the big boy, we had 4 burners in it. And the main reason, you just spread those burners out to get more even cooking. And it's similar to like what's funny is some of your gas grills, your big commercial grills.
Now, you didn't have 4 switches.
Nope. We had one control system, one brain for the whole thing, but it controlled all 4 auger systems. Our main reason for spreading them out because you didn't have a concentrated heat source. It got a lot more even cooking.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. I see those wheels turning, Heath.
It does. It just makes me, I'm always looking at, I don't want to say ways to improve something, but just how stuff is built. I love watching the History Channel about how things were made things like that. So I really like diving into, Candace's father's the same way. Me and him are always talking about the History Channel.
That y'all watch?
How it was made and also about like the histories of everything, big corporations and things like that. All that kind of stuff fascinates me. People's stories, mega brands and things like that. But just thinking about all that, it's kind of intriguing to me. If I do see the point about being a smaller pot and keeping the augers the same, but I wonder about a bigger one too. Could it be done to use bigger chunks? And because you've seen other companies come out with the wood chip thing, right?
Yep.
And that still hadn't really got off the ground to my knowledge good. I don't know if it has. I don't want to overspeak. They may be coming out with it this year. I don't know, but that is a really cool.
It's a cool concept.
Really cool.
The great thing about pellets is you can hone in on the density of the pellet and very consistency on your fuel. So you know what exactly you're going to be getting on. On wood chips, you got a chip that may be 2 inches. You may have an inch. Mm-hmm. So you're very at the inconsistency of what that wood chip is and how long were they dried out for before they went into the hopper.
And see, that's what I'm wondering about. Would it be a bigger hopper? Is it the same? Are they chipping that wood down even further? I mean, which that could be done, chipped down to a certain size. But I just wondered about all that, of how that would really work. That is intriguing.
It is, because it gives it helps rival one of the biggest complaints about pellet grills is, well, you're not using real wood, even though we are with the wood pellets. But if you throw in some chips, well, then now you're using wood. They can't argue with you on that.
Well, how do you feel about the new Camp Chef model grill that's got the wood insert that pulls out and you put a wood chunk in it and slide it over the fire pot? Have you seen that?
I've seen that. It's similar. And like I said, it's similar to design. There was a company out there that made a heat shield that would allow a chunk of wood to sit inside it and go over top of it. And I can see how it could work, but like, to me, unless you're actually getting that wood to combust and actually start burning, I think he's going to have a hard time getting true.
So I will say the Camp Chef thing, it slides out, and once you take it apart, you'll see it's on a rod, and it's long enough that when you pull this thing out, it goes directly over the burn pot, whatever you put in it. And so that's how it is igniting.
So you're getting the flames out of it.
Thermostat is controlling it to not let it overheat, even with that chunk of wood. Which is, I don't know, kind of. It works, I guess.
Well, and they probably are controlling the auger on the pellets, and if that chunk is moving fast, burning faster than what the augers are putting in the pellets in, they back off on the pellets, if I had to bet, and then they use that as the primary source of heat. But I don't know. I haven't dove down into it, but yeah, I like the theory that we're going down. But.
Yeah, I mean, it opens up the possibilities to so many other things. I mean, because let's face it, when it's kind of like Elon Musk building electric cars now. Some people agree with it, some people don't. Yeah, and hey, I do think it's kind of cool. I don't own one, but at least somebody's trying to do something like that. You know what I mean? You got to give him credit where credit's due.
Well, and like sticking with the barbecue side of things, think about the guy that first came out with the first gas grill. All the uphill battles he faced. Like, what do you mean you're going to use gas to cook? No, we use charcoal to cook, or we use wood, cherry wood, we use hickory. I mean, think about the uphill battles that they faced, and pellet grills is doing the same.
And I would say, is gas probably the most predominant grill sold?
It is.
Do you know the percentages? I don't even know that.
I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but I know the pellet grill industry makes up a very small percentage. I do know that.
Well, when you look at the grill market as a whole, and you look at the concentration of into households, it's a very low number that the people that own grills to houses. Do you realize that?
I saw something the other day. I was reading something about that.
It was like a really low. It's like a really low percentage. I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
And a normal person is going to have one grill.
What are you saying? 7 grills isn't normal?
I mean,
7.
for the common person.
That's beginner level.
For a common person, no, it's not.
I grew up with 7 grills on our back patio.
I mean, I grew up we had one grill.
Yeah.
And I feel like that in most households, that is to be expected, honestly.
Well, and I'd say 6 of them were probably built by my dad.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, you were in a different environment, but like,
We always had 2 or 3.
really?
Yeah.
Small and big, yeah.
Yeah.
A little charcoal grill, then you had a little smoker, and then my dad always had a bigger smoker that he'd fire up for holidays and things
I guess we
like
had
that.
a smoker, but that was back when, the smokers were like that.
That vertical chamber.
That black
little
thing
Bradley,
that had the lid.
the little
I
Bradley
mean, that's what a
thing.
smoker was then.
W.O. Bradley
for the
probably,
most
wasn't
it? Yeah.
part.
You got the little Weber bullet and
A Weber bullet or either a Mastercraft.
Mastercraft was one. Trying to remember because I remember my dad having and this dates me a little bit, but had a glass apple juice gallon jar that he screwed a hole down in the top, put a little hose in it so he could add to his water pan throughout the night, and just because that's what he did. And now I said we had 7 grills didn't mean all 7 worked. It just they were there.
Oh, the good days, the good days.
Oh.
But yeah, some people don't even have a grill
Well,
at all. I mean, we get emails all the time like, "Can I cook this recipe in the oven because I don't have a grill?" I mean, a lot of people don't have grills.
well, and some of our stuff we're looking at shooting it in an oven series, just for people to be able to do that.
Or even
Yep.
if, I mean, some people aren't able to go outside and cook on a grill. Even if they have one, they're just not able to do that, or they don't feel comfortable doing it.
Well, that's the convenience of what you guys do with your guys' rub line and everything that you guys have to offer is like you're able to get them to understand how to do things and how to grill, even if they are limited to the inside.
Yeah.
And that's where, like I say, the pellet grills come in handy because there are people that want to learn how to grill, but they don't have the knowledge to know how to do it. Where the pellet grills, I mean, you and I both know it's a flip a switch, and they could take your recipe, follow your recipe to the T, and it's going to taste like Heath Riles cooked it.
Well, I tell people the story all the time of Candace when I first got a pellet grill. She never grilled out on anything before. And I can remember once I started using a pellet grill and doing it in, she called me on the phone one time and she was like, "So I don't have to put any pellets in it. You've already got it full. All I got to do is press on and the temp, and I can cook a piece of salmon." Because she was wanting to cook a piece of salmon for dinner. She was by herself. She didn't want to go anywhere. I'm like, that is it. That's all you have to do. And she knows how to use a thermopin, you know what I mean? Knows her temps. And so she done it. And she's like, "This is it. That's easy. That's done." And she likes using a pellet grill. And it's just about showing a process, like you said. But
I mean, I'm all about pushing. My best friend, I had a conversation with him right before Christmas, and he was wanting to cook a prime rib, and he was like, "I want to follow Heath's recipe, but I don't have a grill." And I was like, "You don't have a grill? Like, you're a 40-something-year-old man. How do you not have a grill?"
You made him feel about this
So
big, huh?
anyways, I was like, "You need a pellet." He was like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable with the smoke." And so anyways, I went down the whole pellet grill thing with him, and I was like, "You need a pellet grill."
Yeah.
So we started talking about that, and I think I kind of convinced him to start looking at them at least. But I was just like, "How you don't have a grill? What?"
well, he definitely needs
anything.
one. I mean,
Or a smoker. Or
well, let's face the fact. You either, with social media now, you've either gotten involved in smoking and grilling and, all this. Social media has really opened up a lot of younger eyes to the grilling world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And food world. But you're either one of these youngsters that are going to work and going home and cooking some food and maybe shooting a little video, or you and your wife just chilling and you cooking at home or whatever, and you may do a video, may not. Or either you one of these people that don't get on social media and don't own a grill. And it's not because the two compare, but you just eat out all the time, or the work scene you're in, or the family you grew up in didn't do it, so you don't do it. I mean, so that may be why he don't have a grill.
well, and that's what I like I said, I kind of went down that path and told him, his wife could even use it when because he works late a lot, that kind of thing. I was like, I know how to do it.
Well, I mean, with
It's
him
easy.
being in school like he was, she's talking about her friend that's a pharmacist. And so with him being in school like he was, you can imagine there was years there that he was just crashing and studying and probably eating,
eating as
what
fast
he
food as he
could and
could.
things like that. So I get how some people hadn't used a grill before. I get it.
I mean, he didn't say he hadn't used one, but
Well,
he just doesn't have one now. I guess. I
own
don't know.
one, I guess. is
But
another
anyways,
way
he
to
made
say it.
a prime rib
Well, as
recipe.
long as she
and,
told him Smokin Brothers will be all right.
That's it. That's it. Get him one for sure.
Oh.
yeah.
Well, Ryan, I just can't wait to get up to this year's event myself personally and kick it off. I know we're still making plans, and I'm trying to be better prepared than I always am coming to town for you guys. But
I'm excited because, I mean, the last 2 years you guys have just brought it. And whenever I've been talking to these coaches, they're like, well, what do we need to be prepared for? I said, Heath, call them. And at the same time, it's something that our area, even if you're not in the area, because we had people come up from Memphis last year. We had people come over from Nashville. We had all types of people coming in for the weekend even. And we're partnered up with a local casino this year. So that's going to make it a lot interesting too. They've got a lot of fun events for the public that I'm not allowed to talk about, but some of the games and stuff that they're bringing out for that weekend and that day of, it's just going to help complement everything.
Wow. Well, I do like a good card game.
I was going to say, are you going to allow Heath to gamble at this event?
Not till Sunday.
Because we might lose him.
That's not true. That's not true. I'm not that bad. Well, Ryan, is there any upcoming things for 2025 that you would like to talk about?
Well,
or anything like that? New for Smokin Brothers, or any new products coming out, or anything like that? You kind of hit on the new vertical coming out.
Yeah, we got that new vertical coming out, and at the same time, we introduced the Inferno last year at the SCA with the SCA, and we got it finalized. It's coming out again for 2025. Now, this grill, I tell people, is about as live fire as you can possibly come with cooking with a pellet grill. You can get your grate temperatures up to 900 degrees if you want, which is unheard of. And the grill still operates 3 years later. So that's the other thing that we've done. We took the quality and the high heat and matched them together. And so for your people looking to sear and do fast cooking, I can turn on a grill. I turn on the grill, bone-in chicken thighs I can have done in 15 minutes from the point of turning on the grill and pulling the chicken thighs off, which is unheard of on a pellet grill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's fun to cook with. But also, don't plan on winning any briskets with that grill either, because it's hard to get that low temperatures.
I like that. I might need to get an Inferno.
That's probably a pellet grill I should stay away from.
Yeah, you like them hot like that. Well, man, I appreciate you for coming on the show today and all that. And it was a good way to kick off season 5 for us. And we can't wait for a couple weeks to come to town to Cape and honestly just showcase a good time with the first responders and help raise some money for some good local charities.
Well, I thank you. You and Candace let me come out on your guys' first episode of the year. Appreciate that. And I'll see you in my hometown here pretty soon.
That'll work. We'll see y'all next week with another episode of Shootin the Q.
If you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media channels. Leave us a review if you've enjoyed the show. And until next time, keep shooting the Q.